Summer is coming. Sorry, Jon Snow, but summer is coming. And summer is coming soon. Hello, and welcome to the Admittedly podcast. My name is Thomas Caleel. I'm the former director of MBA admissions and financial aid for my alma mater, the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. In this podcast, I don't promise easy answers or quick fixes, but I will use my decades of experience to help you achieve your education goals. Now let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the Admittedly podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Caleel, and today we're talking about summer, the strategy of summer, and how to turn it into a competitive advantage. But Thomas, I can hear you saying, it's November. Why would I be thinking that far ahead? Well, as a lot of you have talked to me about on our social media at AdmittedlyCo on Instagram and TikTok, summer is something that's very much top of mind. But I want to reframe the way we think about summer. It's very important. So where I get a lot of comments and questions is, what should I do? Tell me the programs that I should do. And that to me implies that you're thinking, okay, there's a set algorithm here. There are a set series of things that if I do, I will be admitted to my dream school. And I want to take us just a step back, because the important thing here is a little bit less about what you do and more about why you do it. And yes, I know I'm going to get very philosophical today, but I want you to bear with me and listen, because this is a really strategic part of what you're going to do with your application. And so it's critical that you focus in and understand why we are doing the things that we are doing. All right, so let's think about the summer. When I talk to families, a lot of them will say, Thomas, give me the list. Tell me the programs that I should do. And I want to separate into a couple things. First of all, if you want to do any kind of summer academic program, there are a couple things you need to think about. First of all, who is giving that program? And you have to be very careful, because there are a lot of private companies out there hosting summer academic experiences on campus. UCLA is famous for this. UCLA hosts a lot of third-party providers over the summer, and I get a lot of families telling me, oh, we're good. We're doing a program at UCLA. And I have to break it to them like, no, you spent a lot of money and you're going to take a private course on the UCLA campus that admissions officers are going to view as privilege bias and not really additive to your application. Now, don't get me wrong here. If you are like freshman summer, sophomore summer, and you say, I would like to, as part of my summer, take a week or 2-week class at Georgetown or Columbia or Brown and learn about something, learn about finance, learn about engineering, learn about writing, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, it's expensive. I want you to understand that you're going to be paying a lot of money for your own kind of personal curiosity, because an admissions officer is going to look at your 2-week pre-college program at Brown or at Georgetown and be like, yeah, I mean, okay, great. But it's not particularly compelling or unique, because hundreds or thousands of students do that every year. So you're not particularly distinguishing yourself. But if it helps you figure out in your mind what you want to do or what you don't want to do, then it can be very valuable. I will say with these programs, what you want to do if you can't afford to attend them, because they're very expensive, they're ridiculously expensive, and so there's no need to attend them. A lot of them do have scholarship programs. If you are going to apply to a scholarship, you have to start early, get those applications in as soon as you possibly can, because there's a very limited number of scholarships. The other thing to keep in mind is that in most cases, attending a program will not give you any advantage in the admissions process. This is one beef that I have with a lot of universities, is that they put on these extremely they put on these extremely expensive programs, and they don't say that it doesn't have a bearing on admissions per se. They don't come right out and say it. They kind of loosely imply that, hey, maybe it kind of might, but not fully. All the lawyers have been involved in this. And that bothers me, because you have families spending $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 on this summer program, and they're like, oh, I went to the Columbia pre-college program, and so I'm got an advantage in the process. The answer is no. There are some programs at Wharton maybe Yale Young Global Scholars, definitely the Chicago summer programs that can have an impact on your application if you apply to that school. But the reality is that the vast majority of them do not. So, buyer beware, a caveat emptor here. Just be smart, be careful. Don't feel any pressure to take these courses. They really bother me. They're so expensive. Yes, they're a cool experience, but I think there's a little bit of salesmanship going on here that I just don't agree with. If you are applying to a summer program and it is mid-November right now, you have to apply early. Take a look, see when the application's open, and get everything lined up before that. So if you have teacher recommendations, have your teachers lined up, make sure your counselor knows what you need, get a copy of your transcript, get ready to go so that when that application opens, if it's on December 1st or January 5th or whatever it is, you hit it hard. You've done some Google research. You might even know what the essay questions are, so you can work on them in advance. You've got somebody helping you, just look at them. So it's not just you. You've got your teacher recommendations that can go out the minute the application opens, and then you're going to stay on top of them. You've already prepped them because it is a bit of a mad scramble. And a lot of these classes for the summer fill up very quickly. They generally fill up first come, first serve. And the other thing too is that a lot of them, like the boarding schools, for example, have these long summer programs, and the good classes go really quickly. And if you're going to go spend the time and money to go to a boarding school for whatever it is, 6 weeks, 8 weeks over the summer, you want to make sure you're taking interesting classes. And also be warned, some programs are fun and interesting. Other programs, intensely competitive. Exeter Summer School, for example, is brutally competitive. You have students there that are just gunning for the Ivy Plus and are showing that up there to do rigorous academic work and prove their ability. So I think get a sense of where you are in your high school career, where you are trying to go, why you're trying to do this. But the important thing, and the thing that I talk to families a lot about, is that depth of engagement matters as much, if not more, than quality of engagement over the summer. So I get families that'll say, well, we're going to go on vacation for 2 or 3 weeks, and then they're going to go do Columbia Pre-College for 2 weeks. And so that's like 5 weeks of an 8-week summer. I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. I'm a parent. I love spending time with my children. I say this all the time. But the reality is, if you're looking at top tier, highly selective, super ultra selective schools, that's just not going to cut it. Now, you can be mad at me, and I want your opinions. Drop them in the comments. Tell me what you're doing. And of course, in the comments, there'll be people saying, I just did this and I got into Yale, and good for you. But that, seriously, congratulations. But the reality is that for most students, that's not going to happen. And so you need a thoughtful, intentional strategy. The other thing I'll tell you is, because of the competition, don't just apply to one summer program. I get families telling me, oh, I want to go to Yale Young Global Scholars, so I'm applying there. Like, great. Well, what happens if you don't get in? And you just see the confusion in their eyes. I'm like, this is like applying to universities. You need to apply to 3 to 4 programs here, minimum, maybe more, if you're really gunning for that. You do have a summer, like maybe freshman summer or sophomore summer, where you could do several programs back to back if they are consistent with the theme and interest that you have. But I want you to be strategic. I want you to step back and think about, why am I doing this? Can I justify why I'm doing this? Now, does this mean that you have to be a grind all summer? Absolutely not. I want you to hold space for family, friends, reading, playing. Go forth and play and enjoy your summer. Right? Nobody wants an over-programmed student. But what we're trying to get to here is helping you figure out what it is that you really are interested in learning more about. Not what do you want to do for the rest of your life. Some of you have a clear idea about that. Most of you don't. But figure out, what is it that you love to do? I had a student, for example, who was really into biology and the environment. And so they went out and they got to be a volunteer docent at a nature preserve near their house for the summer. And so they started working there. They got to know the staff. They got to know some biologists that they had affiliated. And they got deeper and deeper into this to where they were leading tours. They were writing field guides. And that was something they just loved to do. And they created opportunity for themselves. have other students who are interested in politics who might go volunteer for a local campaign. Literally as simple as just starting by knocking on doors, passing out flyers, proving their worth, and then working their way up the ladder to do more and more volunteering, calling, organizing volunteers. Same thing for those of you interested in pre-law, which is very, very challenging, but you can go work at a nonprofit, a legal aid, get close to people, understand what it's like to use the law to help people, to defend people, to advocate for something. In other cases, if you're interested in pre-med, for example, you might go work at a free clinic. Are you going to be able to touch patients? No. But if you go volunteer at a hospital, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be walking people, escorting them through the building. That's not getting you closer to medicine. Go volunteer at a clinic, at a mobile clinic, for example. Drive around, assist the nurses, assist the doctors. See what it's really like to treat people up close, how to have empathy, how to diagnose. These are critical skills, and they're really good when you're writing essays. And I hate to make it overly strategic, but you will learn things about yourself that you can then apply in the application process. And finally, your summer, and because I know people are going to come at me in the comments, this is for rich people, how you have to have money. You don't. And in fact, working over the summer can be immensely valuable to you as a person and to the application process. And no, you don't have to go work at some fancy hedge fund, okay? Scoop ice cream, work at McDonald's, work as a lifeguard, work as a counselor at a camp. But if you're going to do that, find a way to make your mark. For example, I had a student who was very interested in the intersection of computer science and education. And their whole thing was using, artificial intelligence, robotics in a classroom environment. They were a counselor at a camp. So what did they do? They created a robotics curriculum for all the campers. They increased the difficulty and complexity by grade. They deployed it. They wrote the materials. They brought everything in. They taught it, and it was fantastic. It was just this really great intersection of something that they loved, which was being a counselor at camp. You can't just go to camp and kind of hang out and do what everybody else is doing. That doesn't help distinguish you. So they found a way to intersect that with something they were very passionate about, and they created a program that survives them, right? They left, they went on to college, but the camp is still doing that. They're using their curriculum and still helping students do that. So what matters most here, and this is why I don't have a list and I don't like having a list, is the conversation really gets to, okay, well, what matters to you? What interests you? What do you want to do? Okay, now that we have a general sense of that, let's think about who we know. Who do our parents know? Who do our friends know? Who do I know? That might lead you to something interesting and cool. It might not. For most of you, you might say, hey, my parents don't have connections. Okay, great. Can you volunteer somewhere? Can you work somewhere? The idea is that you care enough about something, whether it's a cause or a subject or something that you do, that you can step away from that and say, this is what I want to spend every waking hour doing. If you're an athlete, are you coaching? Are you refereeing? Are you finding ways to include other people in your sport? Because I get it. Sports are hard. Sports take up a lot of time. You don't always have an opportunity to branch out. But, for example, I'll have students who say, well, I'm interested in business, but I'm busy with sports all the time. I'm like, okay, well, do you play on a club team? Yes. All right, well, that's a business, and that league is a business. So go find out who's in charge. Talk to them, figure out, can I help in the business office? Can I help with fundraising? Can I help, how can I get involved in a way that teaches me about business, but keeps me close to my sport and keeps me engaged with something that is truly meaningful to me? You have to be creative here. And where most people fail is that they don't explore the limits of what they want to do, mostly because the advice out there on the internet is like, take this course, do this thing. And it's just the same stamped out, stale, prescriptive list that they give to everybody. And look, if you get into a prestigious program, there are programs like MITES at MIT, SSP, those are amazing. Absolutely go do that. That will 100% be recognized and valued by the admissions office. But if you're like most students and you're just bumping around and you're trying to figure it out, I want you to step back and realize there are no answers. And I know how I sound, right? There is no spoon. There are no concrete answers here. What universities are looking for is the creativity and drive to make your own path, to do your own thing. That's who they want. They want these like creative, bright, interesting people. I also get questions sometimes in the comments about independent study. Can I do independent study over the summer? And I'm not really a big fan of that because there's no real way to quantify that. The one thing I would tell you to avoid at all costs, there are these private companies that sell you this package where you get to do research with a PhD candidate or a professor. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. If a professor at a lab, at a university calls you up and says, "Hey, Thomas, thanks for sending in your resume. You seem really interesting. I love what you wrote. We could use you in our lab. Please come join us." That's completely different. But if you're paying for that opportunity, admissions officers are going to see right through that. Likewise, if you're published in a student journal, those things are money makers. Just don't. If you can get into a peer-reviewed journal because you're part of a team, amazing, right? If your research gets you the ability to go to a conference, poster, or even just present, absolutely go do that. But keep in mind too, I get students who will tell me, I did this research, I was part of the team, but I don't get to speak in the presentation, right? And I'm like, oh, of course you don't. You're 17 years old and you're dealing with, Yale PhDs and PhD candidates. Just learn. Admissions officers don't expect you to be active in that space, right? They respect the fact that you got there. They'll look at your supplemental recommendation. They'll see the work you put in and they'll respect that. But if you try and overbuild and oversell yourself, it doesn't resonate well at all. So to loop ourselves back, summer is coming. Sorry, Jon Snow, but summer is coming. And summer is coming soon. It is the middle of November right now as I'm recording this. You need to be on top of your dates and deadlines if you're doing summer programs. You need to think about, okay, what can I do? If you want to work with I would strongly recommend that you go approach them now. Talk to them. Can you start helping them now? Because if you wait until summer starts, you're going to burn 2 weeks just running around talking to people, hearing no, waiting for a call back, and then, summer moves quickly. So I want you to be on top of things. I want you to use your breaks wisely to go out, interact with people. If you can, start working with these nonprofits or organizations that you're planning to spend time with this summer. Do it over winter break. Do it a little bit over spring break. Do it if you can a couple hours a week. Get engaged, get involved, because admissions officers, again, they're looking for something you really care about. And if you care about something, you will do it every single chance you get. That's the fire. That's the passion. So as you're thinking about the summer, remember, right? There's no list. There is no formula. There is you. You have to be original and you have to be creative. We're here to help you with that. We have a lot of resources on our website, www.admittedly.co. I post a lot of content on Instagram and TikTok @admittedlyco, @admittedlyco. Please engage. I love when you engage with me. Comments. Tell me what you're thinking about doing this summer. Tell me about things you're considering. Send me a DM. I want to hear from you. I love to hear from you. I know this is not easy. If you're really stuck, I would invite you to apply for a free family action call. apply.admittedly.co. You can speak with one of our admissions advisors. It's a 2-step process. You fill out the application. We'll consider on the spot if you're a fit or not to go further. If you are, you'll get kicked to a scheduling page, so make sure you wait for that. Schedule your free call. It's free advice. It can maybe help you frame some issues, go over your options, give you some ideas. Totally free. We want to help you. We know this is not an easy process, and we know that summer has increasingly become a really key strategic part of the admissions process, and we want you to be successful and put your best foot forward. Thank you again for following and for listening. I look forward to engaging with you more on social media at AdmittedlyCo on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you for joining us today. Please take a moment to subscribe to the Admittedly podcast and download this episode. I welcome you to share your thoughts and questions with me. You can find us on social media at Admittedly Podcast. I look forward to continuing our